2023 marks the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative. Over the past decade, the BRI has witnessed an ever-expanding network of partners, with China signing over 200 cooperation agreements with more than 150 countries and over 30 international organizations. Throughout these years, the BRI has maintained remarkable resilience and vitality, providing plenty of development opportunities for the world, particularly for the developing countries. In this episode of Global Vision, I'm honored to be joined by Stephen Brawer, Chairman of the Belt and Road Initiative in Sweden. Mr. Brawer shared a series of enlightening insights on the BRI and its global impact. Here is the interview. Mr. Brawer, thanks for joining us in the show.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Brawer, could you please briefly introduce your institute and what's your opinion on the BRI in terms of its global significance and influence?
Well, we have been working now for a number of years, principally since approximately 2018. And initially, the idea here was to inform accurately people in Sweden and in Europe generally about what exactly the Belt and Road Initiative is really all about. The point that I would underline is that this initiative, which was taken, of course, by President Xi Jinping in 2013, and this being the 10th year anniversary of the Belt and Road, is the most important global initiative in modern history. It not only defines the character of the dramatic changes in China's development, but it opens the door for global development of infrastructure and elimination of poverty. This is the essential basis for cooperation and friendship into the future for all nations.
I agree with you, Mr. Brawer. The core of the Belt and Road Initiative is infrastructure modernization. What's the significance of infrastructure modernization for poverty relief and economic development?
The question of infrastructure development and modernization is the only viable means to eliminating poverty. The example of what has been achieved in China itself, going from a period in the 1960s to today, which is certainly not an extremely long period in human history. They have raised, as you well know, approximately 800 million people out of extreme poverty. That's a model at the present situation in the world for how poverty should and can be eliminated, not only, of course, in China, but in the developing sectors of Africa, South America, other parts of Asia. There is no replacement for developing modern infrastructure. So it is an essential concept of poverty elimination that what I would define as physical economy, that is the investments in modern infrastructure, power systems. These things are long-term investments, but they are the only way that one can raise developing nations out of the difficulties and the poverty which generally has been a result of both colonial and neo-colonial policies.
Well, some people believe that Western countries are more short-sighted in terms of infrastructure investment, while BRI tends to bring real changes. In your opinion, how is BRI different from Western projects?
The Belt and Road Initiative represents a totally different idea of investment into real physical economy, not into financial speculation, which is what has led the West into the serious breakdown that it is now undergoing. A massive amount of, for quite a long period of time, going back to the 1960s or even the 1970s, especially since the decision was made by the former American President Richard Nixon to decouple the dollar from the gold reserve system and the Bretton Woods system, which had some relationship at that time to investments and physical economic development. And it was based on maintaining a certain stable relationship between currencies, which allowed development and trade to occur in a certain context successfully. That was removed, and it was, since that period, you have an escalating rate of financial speculation, which is at this point going off the chart in Europe and in the Western countries, especially the United States with its international dollar-based system. So it's very clear that there is a movement in the world away from this speculative dollar-based system, which is not functioning. There is an ongoing reality in this form that is being witnessed by the great majority of the world and of developing countries who do not want to follow suit. And therefore they are turning to these other alternative institutions for economic development, such as the Belt and Road Initiative, to go forward with their own development and no longer being forced to follow policies which are unsuccessful and have not been leading to the kind of modernization or development that they need.
Mr. Brawer, the Belt and Road Initiative has been criticized by some Western experts as a debt trap. What do you think of this criticism?
We are actively writing numbers of articles. My colleague has written a number of articles exposing the falsehood of the attacks on China's Belt and Road Initiative as a debt trap, which has absolutely no real validity. It's a propaganda operation that is being used to demonize China and to demonize the Belt and Road Initiative. And we are holding webinars, be a webinar on this coming at the end of June on the Global Civilization Initiative, because this has emerged out of the Belt and Road Initiative and is becoming more and more important to build bridges between nations in order to stop this escalating geopolitical conflict that we are seeing in Ukraine. So we are very active in all respects of identifying the importance of the Belt and Road Initiative and how we can bring about both an active understanding but an active participation in that process.
Well, in the process of promoting BRI, what other changes and obstacles do you think exist? What measures can be taken to overcome these problems?
Well, the big problem, as I've said, is the geopolitical side of what is presently the decision-making structures in primarily Western Europe, the EU, the G7, NATO, the United States, and the United Kingdom. These constitute, although they believe they have the right to impose their narrative, their perceptions of the world on the rest of the world, these are the obstacles that are presently characterizing the rising danger and tensions in the world. The problem with the world meeting and joining the Belt and Road Initiative is based on a dominant, irrational, and geopolitical thought process, which has really no place in the future for the future of humanity. And that's the challenge, to address it and to overcome it. We have to reverse this irrationality that is dominating the thinking process.
Mr. Brawer, what suggestions do you have for Chinese media and the BRI-related institutes to further promote the understanding of the Belt and Road Initiative?
Well, the best suggestion I have is to, at least in the context of what the Belt and Road Institute in Sweden is doing, which is reaching out to many areas of Europe and the world. What we are doing here is continually carrying out a ongoing both media, alternative media, interviews of this type to raise the discussion, to in fact even present the importance of the Belt and Road Initiative, as I've mentioned, as a global development initiative that has to be discussed and even debated in an ongoing and very open way in the political and economic discussions in the West. That is not presently being allowed. We are making that debate in the work we are doing, and we will continue to do so.